So indeed, today it's all about Christmas chocolates. So we will show you some nice decorations to color your mold, for example. We will use some great shapes and a combination of magnificent flavors. So I am Michel Eikerman. I work here already 13 years at Puratos Belcolade. And indeed, I'm here in our chocolate center here in Belgium. And in the back of me, you have also the production where we produce our delicious real Belgian chocolates, Belcolade. So all is manufactured here in this location. We do white chocolate, milk chocolate, dark chocolate, and also caramelized white, amber chocolate. We do a lot of new innovation launches. We also just launched a plant-based chocolate to replace a milk chocolate. So we have a lot to show, we have a lot to give. Of course, as a support to our customer, when you're using Belcolade, we are also there as a technical advisor to help you. So I am not alone here, I'm alone today, but I have also 3 other colleagues in this international team who do a lot of demonstrations abroad, or now in the new normal, we do it online, live demonstrations. So I will show you around 7 different recipes, 7 different chocolates. And I will also show you like a small video how to make a Christmas sculpture for a Santa Claus. And I will also show you how to make a big bark, a chunk, a turon, but I will explain you all that. I am logged in with 2 accounts. So you have one account where you will see my face, my hands are moving, you see in the screen. But I also am logged in this meeting with another account. It's under my same name, but it's with my smartphone. And there you will have more zoom in onto what I'm doing. So if you would like to see this in large, you go to that screen, and on the right upper corner, there is a blue frame, a blue square with 3 white dots. You click on that and you do pin video, okay? And then you will see me bigger, not me, but what I'm doing. Then you can have a more clear visual. So for the first recipe, also I will not show all the recipes because we have like 20 different items to do, but I will show you all the important and also the different steps that we are making. So when I'm making, for example, a caramel, like we will do now, I will not make a second one, for example, in another recipe. And it's the same with the jelly. I make one time a lime jelly, but I will not make the jelly with banana, for example. So otherwise we will lose a bit too much of time. Now to start with, it's very important temperature in chocolate production. So the environment that I'm working in today is at 20 degrees centigrade, which is perfectly normal. It's not too cold, it's not too warm, it's just perfect. Although when you're working in an area of 18 degrees, it's still feasible, but your chocolate will start to set too fast. And you can also have then a lack of shininess, especially on a enwrapped item. When it's 22 degrees, it's still a good temperature, but it will take time, a bit more, everything to let set, but it's quite okay. Above 24 degrees, I would say go on a holiday, stop working with chocolate, because it will make your life very difficult, okay? So 20 degrees is perfect. When I talk about the humidity level as well, here in Belcolade, we don't have too much problem with too high humidity in the air, but you should not have more than 60%. When you're above 60%, the humidity in the air will attack chocolate, and you will have a risk to have a sugar bloom. So that means that the humidity will start to melt the sugar from the chocolate, and then it will recrystallize on top in a hard crystal. It will make your chocolate turns gray, and it's not good, okay? Especially when you're at the seaside. In UK, you also have a lot of coast, of course. In summertime, when it's too humid, you should have a humidity air controller in your area where you work, and please keep it below 60%. If you already manage this circumstance, it's one step to work very easily, okay? And then, of course, the second step is that we need to temper the chocolates all time. We temper the chocolate at the right temperature, depending dark milk or white chocolate. And even when you are spraying cocoa butter in a mold, also temper this one at 30 degrees, for example, okay? But when you control all these parameters, then you're okay. I also have a good friend here. It's actually a thermometer. I use quite a lot this laser thermometer to measure everything, to measure the temperature of my mold, to check the temperature of a filling, for example, that I'm using, to check the temperature of the chocolate. So keep this thermometer always beside you, then you have less problem, because when you control a temperature, then you know what you're doing to avoid later issue, or when your chocolate demolds not good, for example, or it's not shiny, then at least you know what you're doing. So a thermometer is my best friend here in the chocolate center. So for the first recipe, I will go through an amber balsamic crystal. It's really a nice praline in combination with caramel flavored with balsamic vinegar. And on top of that, we put a chocolate ganache. The chocolate ganache is made out of our Belcolade Selection Amber cacao trace. So it's also a sustainable chocolate under the label cacao trace. And we used in this one caramelized process to turn this white chocolate, in fact, into a caramel white chocolate. It's really delicious. It's a 30% cocoa butter containing white chocolate with a caramelization process. So the first recipe is the caramel, of course. So the caramel, you can use like a dilly caramel from Puratus, for example, or you can also make your own scratch caramel. What have I done? I have caramelized my sugar and glucose together. When I have the right color, I put just my warm cream, some butter, and some salt. It's a recipe that's quite easy to do, but the most important step is we leave it to cool down. And when it's cooled down, I also add some balsamic vinegar. This will give a nice acidity to the caramel. It makes it also a bit less sweet. And when you eat this in combination with the ganache that I will show you, it is really, it's really amazing, the flavor. And in terms of shelf life, for example, when you add vinegar to a caramel, it will not harm the shelf life. It will make it even more longer. Okay. So we just mix this together, and then I will put this into a piping bag, and I will pipe this into my chocolate shell. So the mold that I'm using is a mold from Chocolate World, and maybe HBI also support this, or maybe they sell it. But I use molds from Chocolate World because it's a Belgian company. You also have other brands, of course, they are also good, but they are close by, and that's why I use the molds from them. So this is all what you need to do. Mix your caramel with the balsamic vinegar, and then I can put it into a piping bag. So for the molding, of course, I also used the amber chocolate. I'll get one out, yeah. And I sprayed it also a little bit with some colored cocoa butter, with some gold dust, and that's also really beautiful. And when you're using gold, I would say it's also like a Christmas. So I put the caramel in a piping bag, and then I pipe this balsamic vinegar caramel into the mold. So I fill it up about just not halfway, because I also need to pipe, of course, a ganache on top. And the ganache I will make with you immediately together. So I fill it like almost halfway, and then I will go through the recipe of the ganache. Voila. So for the piping bag as well, don't cut the tip too wide. Cut it very small, because then you are able to pipe in this caramel on a really clean way. Because you have to know, for example, I see some people when they pipe a filling in a mold, they clean the tip of the piping bag on the side of the shell. But then you have a small drop of caramel here. You put your ganache, so the side is a bit dirty. And then when you close it, where it's dirty with this little drop of the caramel, you will have caramel leaking out or even moisture. Okay, so don't do this. Cut the tip of the piping bag very small, and then you can fill the mold clean. So at the same time now, I will make the ganache. So I have already here my cream warming up. So what I have inside, I will not go through all the amount of the recipe, but I will for sure tell you what recipe I'm using. The recipes will be sent to you afterwards. So here I have my cream. I also already have glucose, and I put some sorbitol and some dextrose as well. If you don't have dextrose, you can just replace that by extra glucose, and then you can just continue the recipe as such. So cream, sorbitol, glucose, and dextrose is now inside.
Can I just check that people, sorry, Michelle, people have got the recipes already, have they? I just wanted to check. Can people drop me a quick note in the chat box? I know certainly me and Lee have got them, and they were, oh, perfect.
All right. So when this is boiling, I give it really a short boil. It doesn't need to be boiling, but when it's like 80 degrees centigrade, it's okay. In this bowl, I have the amber chocolate ready, okay, to use, and I also put some cocoa butter. The cocoa butter is to make my recipe a little bit more stable without adding too much sugar. Okay? A white chocolate is sweet, of course. So when I need to put only amber chocolate without the cocoa butter, my ganache finally will be setting as well, because I put more chocolate, but it will be a bit too sweet. Okay, so that's why I use also partly cocoa butter in the recipe. So now here my cream is warm enough, and I just pour it on top of the amber chocolate together with the cocoa butter.
I've just got a couple of people saying they don't have recipe details. Stephen Russell, are you okay if I put your email address out? Someone else has said they can't. A couple of people saying they've not had them. A couple of people saying they can't find them. Stephen, are you okay if I give your email address out? Yeah, okay. In fact, Stephen, can you just type your email address on here? And then if people can, oh yeah, there's quite a few that haven't had them. So if Stephen can put his email address in this chat box, which has just popped up now, stephenr@hbingredients.co.uk. If you could drop him a very quick email just that says something like need recipes, he'll be able to ping them through to you straight away. Someone has said there's a link on the email you sent with the Zoom joining details. I've just downloaded it from there.
That's great information.
I just wanted to check it. It's often useful for people to follow along. So you've got amber in there.
Yes, so I'll continue my explanation. And so I poured my warm cream with the sugars on top of the amber chocolate with the cocoa butter. And I checked all time the temperature. Okay, so I'm at 35.5 degrees, which is good, because between 35 degrees and 38 degrees, you need to create your emulsion. All right, when it's too cold, you will not have the perfect emulsion. So everything in between 35, 38 degrees for all type of ganache. So I will start to mix now as well with an emulsion blender. And I will also add a little bit of butter to add some extra creaminess to my recipe. So I don't use a whisk as well. I only use a spatula because a whisk, of course, incorporates air bubble in the ganache, which is not good. We don't want to incorporate too much air bubble, and that's why I use a spatula and no whisk. So now this ganache is ready to start mixing with an immersion blender. And also here, I will use a good immersion blender, and I also try not to incorporate any air bubble. So I start to mix. So here you need to adapt the speed, of course, of the mixing, because sometimes a ganache is more viscous, like a dark chocolate ganache. Then I put some more power, some more speed. But when I use, for example, white chocolate ganache or amber chocolate ganache, it's more liquid, it's more soft. Then I lower down the speed of my immersion blender. But now a bit sorry for the noise. You also see when you are mixing a ganache with an immersion blender, the color also changes a little bit. So with this, for example, it will be a much more lighter color. That means even with the immersion blender, you make a better emulsion, a better homogenization, which is really important for the setting afterwards, but also for the creaminess and the mouthfeel. Okay, so please, mixing, it's important. And for sure, do it for about 1 or even 2 minutes. I will not do it now to go a bit more fast, but please, when you mix your ganache, do it for minimum 1 to 2 minutes. And so it's nice and homogeneous. But please, when you do it, do the mixing for 1 minute more longer. I will clean out the head of the mixer. And then I also check the temperature, of course, of this ganache. Because I'm using a amber chocolate.
Sorry, just very quickly, for anyone who's not got the recipes, you should be able to access them on the link that Stephen's put on. Sorry to interrupt. It's the link in the chat box. Sorry, Michelle, carry on. I interrupted you rudely. I'm so sorry.
So I am using now a amber chocolate shell. So my filling needs to be at 28 degrees centigrade, okay, before you can pipe it into the shell. So what do you do when your ganache is finished? Like here, you also take the temperature. So the temperature now is 32.5 degrees. So it's a little bit too warm, but this is normal. But you need to wait a little bit before the ganache cools down. So that's why I put it in a piping bag to go a bit more fast. And then I can start to fill it up like almost immediately. Voila. We are ready to go. It's 26, but it's through the plastic. It will be a bit more water. Yeah. So for here, the same thing. Cut the tip of the ganache of the piping bag, not too wide, small, because it's rather a liquid ganache. Because in this recipe, we use, of course, glucose, and this will make your ganache really liquid. Okay. So when you're making a ganache for cutting with a guitar, for example, there most of the time we put inverted sugar, because inverted sugar gives also a bit of texture. It makes the ganache soft quite for a mouthfeel, but it's a bit more harder to cut. And that's why we use inverted sugar for cutted ganache. But when you do a ganache that you will pipe into a mold like here, normally all the time, partly the biggest amount needs to be having glucose and some sorbitol, and then automatically your ganache will become very, very smooth automatically without doing anything. If you would use inverted sugar, for example, you really will have like a ganache that you need to pipe like this. It will not go automatically flat. So with glucose, it is the best solution. Okay. So this malt will go into the fridge. And also in the chocolaterie, we always do preparation one day on before. So that means we make today the ganache, the molding, the ganache, and then we leave it overnight to set, and then we can close it the next day with tempered chocolate, of course, and we do the demolding. So the next recipe with amber chocolate, it's a small snack bar, I would say, and a ganache is a water-based filling. Why water? Okay, we put some cream in the previous recipe, and cream also contains water, as well. The butter contains 19% water. So when we make a combination of that, we call it, in a professional term, it's a fat-based filling. But it's a ganache, but it's water-based. Sorry. Now I will make with you together a fat-based filling. That means this will be a filling that contains no water coming from cream or butter, because we don't add it. We will use just tempered amber chocolate. I will put some hazelnut paste, pure, and that will make my chocolate more softer to eat. I will put some rice puffs, some popping candy, and I will also put some hard pieces of sugared hazelnut. All right. So I will get some tempered amber chocolate. It's around 300 grams. So you will see it's a very easy recipe to do. So I have here my amber chocolate. I put this hazelnut paste. So the chocolate is tempered, always. We mix this, and this will give really a nice hazelnut flavor on top of the caramel chocolate. This technique they use a lot in Middle East countries, that they take white or amber chocolates. They put like a pure paste of nuts. It can be hazelnut, almond, even pistachio, and this is their filling. If you want, you can always put a little bit of concentrated butter oil, without water, of course, or clarified butter. That's also possible. And now we just pour in all this crispy texture, the popping candy, and also the caramelized hazelnut pieces. And we just mix. And this filling is ready. So it's a bit different than the ganache. A ganache is a bit more work, but it's also a nice and pleasant mouthfeel. This is something different. It's like a praline filling. You can compare it with that. So it's basically just mixing and using tempered chocolate. So this mold, it's also made out of amber chocolate. And you will see this mold is not so deep. Okay. So I will show you a technique how we can fill these molds, because we also have some texture, of course. So that's not so easy to pipe. So what I will do, I will pipe for sure the filling into the shell, but we will have too much. Okay. And then with a spatula, I will remove the excess of filling that we have put in. But you can only do this with the fat-based filling, like I'll show you now. Don't do this technique with the ganache. Because I explained in previous recipe, when you do this with the ganache, your mold will be dirty on the side, and then when you close it with chocolate, you will have leaking out of the humidity. So I put this crispy praline filling in the piping bag. And this one we will also just pour in the mold. But you see, I put too much, so I cannot close it basically anymore. But I will show you a technique how we fill up this mold in a good way. So shake to make the filling flat, and the bar is completely filled. And then with a spatula, we just go over it, and the exceed filling will just be removed.
So that ensures it gets it absolutely as full as possible, yeah, under the cap.
Yeah.
And with the popping candy in those, Michelle, do you actually feel when the bar is eaten, do you actually get the sensation of the popping candy still popping?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, brilliant.
And because I am using a fat-based filling, I have made a fat-based filling. And so the popping candy will not start to absorb humidity because it's not in there.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, that's good.
And so, for example, when you would use popping candy in a ganache, you will not have this sensation later on because it was in contact already with humidity, so it starts to pop in the mold in the ganache.
Okay.
So
yeah.
when I use the popping candy here in a fat-based filling, it will still pop when you eat it. All right.
Yeah, they look great.
So that's why it's good to choose sometimes between a ganache or a fat-based filling like praline, because in a ganache you can normally not put any crispy texture because it will absorb humidity. But for example, in a product like Christofil, that I will also use, it's a fat-based filling. If you put there like a crunchy item, it will stay crunchy all the time because there is no water inside. So this will go into the fridge as well. It will set, but you will see it sets fast. It's already set basically, right? So it's also shiny. That means the temperature was correct. So this will go into the fridge, and then also later on we can close this mold and then also demold the small bars. All right. I also have everything already finished here.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. If we, oh, that's perfect. Yeah.
That is for the end of the demonstration, for the conclusion. Now I really also have a nice idea. It's the chocolate snowball.
Yeah.
This one. And we will make a ganache with curry.
Sorry, a ganache with
Curry.
Oh, curry.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I have something special to say. So all the recipes that we are proposing, the ones without Christofil, so the regular ganache, they have a shelf life of 6 weeks. Okay, that means we keep them at 18 degrees, like normal chocolatier temperature in a storage area, and they will keep 6 weeks without any problem. The recipe that I will show now, it's also a ganache, but instead of butter, I will put at the end some Christofil as well to make my filling nice and soft. But Christofil does not contain any water, so also my shelf life will be much more longer. These ganaches have easily a shelf life of 3 months, and when you keep them good, normally we keep them at 18 degree maximum, the shelf life stays good for even 4 months, which is good, especially when you're doing preparation for Christmas period. You can do it now with this Christophil ganache recipe. It's really soft, the texture. It's like a ganache, but your shelf life will be very longer. And complex balanced recipes, sometimes they contain a lot of sugars or even some glycerin to keep them soft, to keep the water activity low. But we have found some recipe, they are easy to do, just with cream, with glucose, chocolate, and Christophil. Like 4 ingredients with an extra flavor. And then you will have a ganache that gets a shelf life of 3 months. So what do I have here? I have just regular cream, 35% fat. I also have the curry powder already inside, and also the glucose. Okay, and this I will start to boil.
If anyone has any questions, please do put them in the chat box. It's very easy for me to read them out, and then Michelle can answer while he's going along.
So a basic recipe would be just heating up cream with glucose, put it on the chocolate, mix, and at the end we add some Christophil, okay? But we can also be very creative and even have the same shelf life. So here in my bowl we have the curry powder, and I also put some coconut milk, but the thick one. Okay. And we just bring this all together to a boil. And then afterwards, we will also pour it on top of white chocolate, the Blanc Sélection. So this small chocolate, it's composed out of 2 parts. So there will be one part, the bottom part will be filled with a raspberry ganache, and the top one is filled with this curry ganache. Okay. So I will also explain the shell that I used, and one side is filled with raspberry ganache and the other one is filled with a curry ganache. So for the raspberry ganache, it is the same technique, but then I don't use cream, but I use raspberry puree. I bring this to a boil, also with the sugars. I pour it over the chocolate, I mix it, and I mix some Christophil at the end as well. So it's the same technique with the fruit puree. It's with 20% fruit puree. It's a lot of flavor, but you also have a shelf life of 3 months. And so just give it a short boil. Voila, it's starting to make some bubble. So this is voila, this is fine. I don't take the curry out. I just leave it in. It's not an infusion, it's an adding of an ingredient. And this will be yeah, like a Thai curry, because we also have this coconut taste inside. It's my favorite curry. When they make a curry with coconut milk and then a nice curry from India, then I'm in love. Voila. And so nothing is different to make a long shelf life ganache with Christophil. We just make first the cream warm with the glucose, with the curry powder in this case. We also have some coconut milk. We just pour it on top of the chocolate. And what is then different at the end? I just put white Christophil instead of butter. It's a bit more, so the recipes are recalculated. So in fact, we put a bit less cream and no butter, and we replace it with an amount of Christophil, okay, to put the recipe in balance, to have the correct viscosity, mouthfeel, but for sure with a longer shelf life. Voila. I put this a bit aside It's 38 degree. Everything is melted, and then I will for sure put inside also the Christophil, and I will mix it. So first of all, I would like to explain what I have here. So these are the molds I'm using. It's like a flat half sphere mold, and we also have some facets inside, which makes it nice to see. So when you take it out, it shines really nice. And even you can put some coloring if you want, or some silver powder, like I did it in here, to give this also like a more end of year finishing. So this side is filled up with the raspberry ganache and then closed. As you can see, it is very thin, the closing, but it doesn't matter because the two parts will stick together at the final stage. This one is then filled with the curry ganache. Okay. And both we will put together in the finishing, but I will show you how to do this. In the meanwhile, the ganache is a little bit cooled down. So I will put inside also the Christophil. So I don't make the Christophil more soft. It is not necessary because it is soft at ambient temperature, of course. And you will just be able to mix it in also with an immersion blender. So I mix it. Are there already questions, Joe?
No, the only question is just somebody that needs to disappear to go to work, and they're wanting to get the information, but Lee Burnside is kindly dealing with that, so that's okay. Not at the moment. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions at all? Even if maybe whilst Michelle is doing little bits like this, even if there's other questions you want to ask regarding chocolatier work or Belcolade, anything like that at all, he's your man and have his ear at the moment. So any questions at all, please do put them in. So we do have a question. A lady has asked, what is the makeup of the Christophil?
Yeah. And so Christophil, we have 3 varieties. We have it in dark, milk, and white chocolate. And the makeup, so what is it containing? It's basically 50% the Belcolade chocolate, and 50% is fat. And the fat is divided in 2 parts. We have 25% butter, concentrated butter, and 25% oil. And this is a filling that has been pre-crystallized on a special equipment in the factory. So you just need to soften it. You put an aroma, and you can use it like that. Okay? But it's basically 50% real Belgian chocolate from Belcolade and 50% fat, which of 25 butter and 25 oil. The filling as such as well, it comes in carton boxes, packed in a plastic, and it keeps also 1 year shelf life without any problem. I advise also not to keep it in the fridge, because then it is very hard to get the Christophil out, because at 4 degrees, for example, this filling is very hard. But normally you keep it at ambient temperature, like in the chocolate working area, at 18 to 20 degrees. So also here, I cool my ganache a bit down. And then I can also fill up the shell. For the Christophil, we use a lot of white Christophil because it is also like a neutral flavor. And this white Christophil, you can combine with many things, even like fruity flavor, but also caramel, mocha, coffee, nuts, for example, as well. So the white one we sell the most, because it's the most easy one to combine and to flavor. The one with the milk chocolate, for example, you can use this to combine with warm flavors like coffee or caramel. Even some nut flavors fits really well with that also. The dark one, you can make like a dark chocolate ganache out of it. You can combine it with also with red fruit and tea, for example. But the dark one, yeah, for one or another reason, we sell this not the most. So we sell the most the white, then the milk, and then the dark chocolate Christopher. Voilà, so my ganache is also cooled down. And now I can also fill up the shell. This shell has also been molded with tempered white chocolate. And you can see I have an adapted recipe, even with the Christopher, and it goes flat automatically. Okay, so when I fill it up, it comes flat automatically in the shell. Especially for an undeep mold like this, if you don't have the correct recipe or not a well-balanced recipe, it will be not easy to fill it up. So please use a liquid ganache that is well balanced, and then you can close it. Even when it's an undeep shell, you will not have too much problem. When this ganache is in the mold, it will also go into the fridge of 16 degrees. With Christopher, you can go a bit more faster to close it. Even on the same day, it's possible. But logically, all the time, we leave the ganache to set until the next day. So also this one will go into the fridge until tomorrow. So I would like also to show you the finishing of this bonbon. Because of course we have two parts, and we have the one with the curry that I just made, and we also have the one then with the raspberry ganache that I just explained you how to do it. It's the same method, but of course you need to use then raspberry puree instead of cream with curry. So I will get some tempered white chocolate, and then I will show you how to finish those. So I have here some tempered white chocolate. I take one part. Now I do it by hand, but normally I should do it on an aerobic belt for a larger production. So you just dip in one part, and immediately you take it out with a praline fork. Voilà. So you put it like this, and then you flip it. Okay. But when you do this with an aerobic belt, it will be much more faster, and it will basically do the same thing. So it will only cover the top and not the bottom. And when this is done, immediately when the chocolate is still liquid, I put directly some desiccated coconut, like this. So put a lot. The leftover you can, the exceed coconut you can recuperate afterwards, of course. Voilà. Like this. And then you have still the mold with the one with the curry. So I did a bit in advance, so you can take them out of the coconut, like this. And then what you need to do, of course, you need to compose the two together. And that I do with a small paper piping bag. I put also, of course, some white tempered chocolate. So this is the raspberry and curry snowball. The combination is delicious. Raspberry with the curry. It's surprisingly good. It's maybe not a common combination, but the taste is is magnificent. So when a chocolate as well is still liquid, you put this one on top. Then you leave them to set. And then you can take them out of the mold without any problem. And then when you are ready, you can put them on the display like this, or even yeah, you can switch them around. So the setting goes fast in this case, but normally, of course, wait a little bit longer. But it's just to show you as well the final results. So this is the curry snowball with the ganache with raspberry. Try it out. It tastes good.
Do you have one there that you can, on the ones that you've done, that you can cut in half?
Yes, I will cut them at the end of the.
Oh, marvelous. Sorry.
No.
I'll be quiet now.
Now we will make Haley's Christmas comet. Okay. So Haley is the first one. Mr. Haley was a guy from UK who spots this comet for the first time. That's why it's called Haley's comet. And you see this mold. I put in some coloring on a special way, and it looks like a comet that travels through space with all these lines. It looks very nice. And it's a combination with a banana jelly and also a ganache with rum, because I guess Mr. Haley, he liked to drink the rum in that moment because he was outside watching the stars. So I will take a mold and I will also show you how to do this technique. So first part, what I always do, I clean my mold, of course, very good. I polish it with some cotton, and some alcohol, pure alcohol when the mold is dirty. So it needs to be very clean. And then what I do, I always use colored cocoa butter. I make this myself. I take 100 grams of cocoa butter and I put 10 grams of liposoluble coloring in powder. Okay, so 100 gram cocoa butter, 10 grams of the chocolate color that I add. I mix it with an immersion blender, then it's nicely and homogeneous. And then I temper it at 30 degrees, and then I can apply it in the mold. And the mold needs to be 20 degrees or below. It's now 18.5, which is still good. When the mold is 16 degrees, it's too cold. You need to heat it up. But between 18 and 20, it's still okay. I will now take a spray gun where I already have this tempered cocoa butter inside, and I will show you the technique how I do the spraying. And so I have tempered cocoa butter with the coloring inside this spray gun. I have a needle, an airbrush with a needle of 1 millimeter. So it's not too thin, but not too thick. It's in between. And the cocoa butter here is tempered at 30 degrees. But to make this special effect of the Haley's Comet, I put inside also a little bit of coloring, but extra in powder. And I just shake, but I don't mix it with an immersion blender. So that's why when you just spray a spot in your mold, you will have this homogeneous cocoa butter, but you will also have cocoa butter particle which are not mixed in the cocoa butter. And then when you spray it out with just air, so first I push to get out the coloring, but then I can also push just a little bit, and no color is coming out. You see, so I do this in my mold. First the spot, And then with only air, I make it wider. And this will give the special effect. So this will be very thin in the center. On the outside, it's more colored. And because of the unmixed cocoa butter that I have added, it will give small lines. Okay. And this is the special technique that I developed to make the Halley's Comet. So now I do like just a few to show you. So I do 4, and then I spray just air to make it more white. Basically, you will see first it is just a spot, and then I need to make it more open. Like you see on this one, it's more clear in the middle because the second layer is just air. I think I can even maybe do it like here to show you. This needs to be, you see what is happening? Yeah. My phone was locked out, I think. Right, I will log in my phone again because it has been thrown out.
The troubles of technology, hey?
Yeah. But we are a bit of an IT.
Recording in progress.
Oh,
Yeah. Yes,
there we go.
I'm back again. I will also just one more detail to do. Yes, voila. We are back on track. Sorry for the small inconvenience. Okay, so I will continue with the coloring. So this technique, it goes pretty fast. Huh? Just you need to have the good and the right spray gun. Because you see a lot of technique on Instagram, and sometimes they're really complex to replicate, and it also take a lot of time. But if you are able to spray a mold, for example, when you take time to spray a mold, this is a nice technique. I will do it now fast, also to show you how fast it can work out to do this. So I just put one layer, and then immediately I go after it just with air. Okay, so one is done. Voila. So it's quite fast, and it's a nice technique to apply.
If anyone has any questions regarding techniques that you're seeing Michelle using, please do ask. I know he'll be happy to respond to those. You can put them in the chat box and I'll just read them out.
Okay, and then later on, of course, they will go now first to set. I will mold them with chocolate, then the filling, and then you have this beautiful colored chocolates, and you see also the small lines inside. That reminds of a comet traveling the universe.
They look brilliant.
Now I'll also make with you together a ganache. But this ganache is a bit more complex. It's a bit different because first we make a caramel. Okay, so I have my mold ready to use with these nice and shiny shells. So I have tempered my cocoa butter. I spread it inside the mold. And then also the best way is to wait 2 hours before you do the molding. So give your cocoa butter the time to be crystallized before you do the molding with the chocolate. When you go too fast by molding, you will remelt the cocoa butter that you have sprayed inside, and it will not be shiny. Okay, so that's not good because you do quite an effort and investment on time to make a nice product. So please do respect all the technique, but also the time. Give chocolate time, give cocoa butter time to crystallize, to avoid problem. In some cases, you cannot go fast with chocolate. You cannot force it, or you will have a lack of the finishing. It will not be as you want. So for the next recipe, I will make with you together a caramel. So I am heating up my cream already, and also I'm warming up a little bit already the sugar. But first I will also pipe in a marmalade that I made myself. It's with banana. And after this recipe, I will also show you how to make a marmalade by yourself. Okay. So this recipe, it is fresh banana mixed with some sugars, of course, some glucose that I cooked with some pectin to 103 degrees. I leave it to cool down, and when it's cooled down, I also add some rum. Okay, and this will give a really nice taste. It's like a banana rum jelly, and also here the shelf life, it will give you 6 weeks without any problem. So I pipe this banana jelly into my chocolate shell for 1/3. And also the malt that I'm using, it is very famous now. It's called the American truffle malt. So it's like a demi-sphere, but it is just a bit more high. Yeah, but they call this American truffle. Okay. The American truffle malt. So I will continue with the banana compote. Voila. And then I will pop in the screen my heating pit with the sugar. And so here the sugar is heating up. I put the induction pit quite high. And this one, of course, we can also put a whisk to mix everything together. And the cream that I'm using, it's 35% fat cream. And in that cream, we will put also the glucose and the sorbitol later on. But first, we will use the cream to deglaze the caramel. So you need to heat up the cream for sure, because when you deglaze a caramel and your cream is cold, for example, you will have a lot of lumps of the caramel as such, and it will not be melting easily anymore afterwards. So please heat up the sugar, and when you add the cream, it also needs to be warmed up, minimum to 80 degrees centigrade. My cream is nicely warm. I keep it here next to me to add to the sugar. It's almost done. I make a dry caramel, but with a small amount, I can put all the sugar at once because I'm making a small recipe. And then what I do now, so I have a nice caramel color. I stop the induction from heating and I start to add my cream. So gently, not everything in one time. So it's still boiling because the sugar was warm. My cream also I added when it's warm, so it starts to boil, but the induction plate is not working. It is just on top of it, but it's not working. So now make sure everything is mixed well together. Voila. Put also the rest of the cream. I put as well my sorbitol to the composition. Also the glucose. And to take the glucose out of a small container, I also slightly heat it up for 30 seconds, and then you can just pour it out. Okay, so it's much more easy than when it's thick and cold. Voilà. So let's mix everything together, that everything is melted, especially for the sorbitol. It's a hard sugar. It's sugar replacer, but why do we use sorbitol? It makes your ganache a bit more liquid as well, especially for molded ganaches. But it also lowers aggressively the water activity in a recipe, so it will extend also the shelf life. That's why we use sorbitol. Logically, in percentage, we add around 3%, not more. In some recipes, we find back even 10 to 12%, but then I think it's really too much. And you start also to taste this sugar replacement. But when you add just 3%, it will help you to give a better shelf life, but it will not give a taste. So this is good. I pop in my screen here the chocolate that I'm using. And for this combination, we all know Ecuador is a big producer of bananas. And that's why I use a compote of banana in this recipe, but I also use the Ecuador chocolate. It's an origin chocolate from Belcolade, where we use only the beans coming from Ecuador. It's a 71% chocolate, dark chocolate, and it gives really like a floral taste, also with a fruitiness and some woody notes, which then also perfectly matches later on with the rum and also with the banana jelly that I put inside of the mold. You also see here some milk chocolate. That's to have, I would say, a less aggressive chocolate taste in my ganache, and it will make my ganache also a bit flexible. So for piping ganaches, most of the time when we would like to highlight a dark chocolate, especially for origin, we also add a little bit of milk chocolate to make the ganache a bit more flexible in use. Okay. To make it a bit stable as well, I also put some cocoa butter. So this is a really a good balanced recipe that gives a 6-week shelf life, and it's a good taste. Voilà. So I put the cream all at once, the caramel cream. With a spatula, I empty my bowl, but I take everything with me. And then here I will start to mix again. So from this stage, I don't use a whisk anymore, like I said in the beginning, to avoid incorporation of air bubble in my ganache. It's a Haley's Comet, and Haley, he liked to drink the rum, so it's also in the banana compote, but the rum is also in the ganache. So I will put some rum as well at the end. So even here now, we still have some lumps of chocolate, some lumps of the cocoa butter. I check the temperature. It's still 40 degrees, so but that's normal because I still have lumps of chocolate. But I can already start to mix with an immersion blender without problem. All the lumps will be removed immediately. Voilà. So we will mix the ganache as well. Always making a ganache homogeneous and blending very well with an immersion blender. It's really important. You see, it will become very shiny. If you see the side of the bowl, you still have some texture, some small particle. But when you mix it, you really achieve another texture, another mouthfeel. And we also figured out with some water activity testing in the laboratory, when you mix a ganache, you even make your shelf life better. So not only the mouthfeel, but also the shelf life is better when you have mixed your ganache in a proper way. So first I've created my emulsion. Now I'm also allowed to put the rum. And we also add a little bit of butter. Voilà. So if you go to Ibiza and you take a cocktail with banana and rum, then I'm pretty sure you will like this chocolate as well with the banana compote.
I'd love to be in Ibiza now. I don't think any of us are going on any holidays to Ibiza at the moment, are we?
No holidays, no?
Well, not for me, no.
Yeah, I said if you would go on holiday.
If I am going to Yorkshire later, and of course the weather forecast is shocking, but yeah.
But now for us, holiday will be also difficult because from yesterday again, complete Belgium turned red zone. So yeah.
Oh really? I wasn't aware that anything. So what's changed in Belgium then overnight? Or
they didn't speak anymore for a long time about the COVID situation.
yeah.
We were not we should not wear mask anymore as well. So it was not mandatory.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, yeah, we have reached again over 6,000 per day.
Oh really? Gosh. Yeah, we no longer have to wear masks in the UK. A lot of people do when they're in shops, stuff like that. But our numbers are also on the increase, and I know it's been on the news a lot. Some people are wanting it to go back to mask wearing. Some people feel it should, but at the moment, I don't believe it is.
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise.
So what did you say your numbers were in Belgium at the moment?
At the moment, they didn't change anything, but they will. The government come back together on next Friday, so it's even next week. I think it's too long that they wait, but okay.
Oh, okay. So in the offices, then, are you having to walk around with masks on today?
Mask, no. But in the office we wear mask.
Oh, okay.
But now during the demo, I take it off.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. How many cases a day did you say there were in Belgium at the moment?
Over 6,000 per day.
What, people testing positive?
Yes. Yeah.
It's
So that's a lot
less than the UK.
Yeah, but UK is bigger, eh? But
yeah, it is. Yeah, we're I don't know. Let's not even go down that.
It's the highest number from February this year, where the vaccination rate was low.
Yeah.
Now it's like 80%, even more. But
strange times.
So my ganache is also cooled down now. It's nicely and homogeneous. It's at 30 degree, which is then perfect to pipe in a milk chocolate shell. Voila, and even also here, it's a dark chocolate ganache. It's a well-balanced recipe. So it goes like almost automatically flat as well. If you see the recipes who are very, very liquid, I don't like it as well, because they will dry out very fast and your ganache will come loose from the shell. When you're having a very thick ganache, you cannot pipe it properly in the shell. But this is really a well-balanced recipe. It's in between. It's not too thick. It is not too liquid. It is perfectly shiny and with a shelf life of 6 weeks. See, so dark chocolate ganache with rum. This go in the fridge as well until tomorrow. And then we can close it. And if we demold, we have these delicious Haley's Comet filled with banana compote and also the ganache with the rum. So the banana compote is a fruit jelly. And now for the next recipe, it's a Christmas Twinkle Star. I will make with you together also the lime jelly.
They had a beautiful shine on them, those. Really lovely.
Yeah, it's when you know the technique, how to do it, and you respect especially the timing and the temperature, it's always shiny. We see a lot that people go too fast, for example, that they don't respect the right temperature, or they even do not temper the cocoa butter. And when your malt is clean, when you control these 3 parameters, clean, the temperature, and the time, then you have always a good result. Okay. Excellent,
thank you.
But in a lot of cases, not everything goes well. Yeah, but yeah, it's not so difficult to do, but you need to know a little bit how. For the next recipe, it's the Mojito Twinkle Star. It's this one. It's a white chocolate bonbon filled with a lime jelly, also with a little bit of rum, and a white chocolate ganache where we have added some mint, and both together will give you a mojito flavor. And with the silver finished chocolate, we call it the Mojito Twinkle Star. So what I will do here, I have some lime juice. Can be fresh, can be also coming from HBI, or you can make it your fresh. But I don't do it. I always buy it as well. There are good quality fruit existing frozen, so I always prefer to use that, because then also the quality is always the same. For example, now when I buy a fresh lime, maybe the taste is not good, or they are too much dry, for example. Instead, when you're buying them in the summer, so when you buy a frozen fruit puree, I personally like it to use because the quality is always the same. So what do I have here? I have indeed my lime juice. And first of all, what we need to do, we put also some water. Normally in a marmalade, I don't put water. When I'm using banana, for example, or even raspberry, strawberry, you just use the pure juice. But lime juice is very acid, it's very sour, and that's why we put in this recipe as well a little bit of water. I put also already an amount of sugar, which you also find back on the recipe. And then also here I have in this small container, I have some sugar, and I also have some pectin. So I need to mix this dry together. And then I can add it to my composition with the lime here and the sugar. But to avoid lumps, you need to mix this dry in the pectin with the sugar. But also before you add it to the liquid, it needs to be above 40 degrees centigrade. So when your juice, for example, is coming out of the fridge, and immediately you put the sugar and also the pectin, you will create lumps with the pectin because your composition is too cold. So you really need to have minimum 40 degrees. And then you can pop in the pectin sugar mixture. To measure the temperature, I also use this cheap thermometer, I would say. They are coming from IKEA. They work well, but only one thing that you need to do, you cannot put the display too close to the induction pit because it reacts with the electricity inside. So you need to move it a bit away from the heating in order to receive the correct temperature. And it's not only with this brand, I would say, but some other has it as well.
If you do have it too close, does it give a wrong reading or does it just not work?
It will give a wrong reading and it will not work. It really will pop to 150 degrees, even when you just have 40. So okay. It will not work correctly. So the juice here is warming up. So bit by bit, like this, I add my pectin sugar mixture. Voila, while stirring with a whisk. And then I power up the induction pit and we start to cook the jelly to 103 degrees. It's also mentioned on the recipe sheet. And in the beginning, I don't put the thermometer because you don't reach immediately the temperature, of course. So I just wait a few minutes, and then I add also the thermometer. This also, it is very liquid lime juice, so it can foam a little bit. So take a bowl that is big enough. You will not have this with raspberry or strawberry, for example, or even with banana. It will give a big bubble, but will not give a foam. This is very liquid juice, so it will bubble up a little bit. It will fill up your bowl. Also, the amount is just half of this, what I have now. Well, I will start to set up my thermometer to 103 degrees. Voilà. So 103. And then I put it into the jelly. This jelly also, it is quite liquid. It is very difficult that it would burn. So you don't need to stir immediately. When you put your induction pit on a normal I would say power, you can just leave it to cook until it starts to beep, like I have now. So I have reached already the temperature. So I will check again. At 103 degrees. So we can stop the cooking process. And what do I do? So to cool down a jelly, I just don't leave it in a pot because then the layer is very thick and you will also have like a crust. And when you then pipe the jelly, it is not easy to pipe. So I take always a tray, a clean tray. I pour out the jelly on top. And then I cool it a little bit down with a whisk. And when you have reached, like, for example, 40 degrees centigrade, you can cover it with a cling film. And then you can use it later on when it's completely cooled down. And so you put a cling film above, and then it can cool down more further by himself. Okay. We are also aware that making all the time these jellies, it takes time, of course. So what do I do? I always make some bigger batch, and then I store them into small plastic containers. And I know, for example, this amount will give me the good quantity to fill up 4 molds of this one, okay, of the demi-sphere shell.
And how do you store them, and how long would you recommend maximum storage?
Yeah, so this jelly, of course, it keeps when it's applied in a ganache, like here, it keeps 6 weeks, okay? But when you keep them in a container, I always put it in the freezer. And then the day before, you check the program, you check the shop, and you say, I need to make this mojito twinkle star tomorrow. So I take out my jelly and I keep it at room temperature out of the freezer, okay? And when it's in the freezer, you can keep it half a year, 1 year, it doesn't matter. Keep it in a well closed container, and it will not harm the taste and also not the texture. And so when I check the texture here, you see, it's a quite normal texture for a jelly.
Mm-hmm.
You see, it's really nice. It needs to be soft, this one. It's also with lime. So I say it's a bit fluid, but it is like that. So here also in this mold, first of all, I have put some colored spray with silver, and herefore I use pure alcohol of 96%, and I put some silver powder. I spray this into my mold, and then immediately after half an hour waiting, I mold the mold with white chocolate.
It looks kind of pearlescent. It looks really nice.
Yeah, it looks like a pearl, like a star. Yeah,
It's really nice.
A bit the ID. So I pour the jelly into a piping bag, and there are no lumps. It's really a nice consistency. Again, I cut the tip of the piping bag not too wide, and then I will pipe the jelly inside. It is just to show you how this jelly works. And also the texture, it is soft. And then the ganache, I will also explain, but it is a bit the same ganache as we did with the curry. But here we infuse it with mint. So also the texture of the ganache is completely the same as the one with the curry. So it's also quite liquid, and it will also be very easy to pipe in this shell. And so like this, you fill it up for 1/3 again with the jelly, and then on top of that, you will have then the ganache. And then later on, of course, when you demold them, you have this beautiful looking mojito twinkle star with a delicious taste of lime and a hint of rum as well. For the second recipe, I would like to show you how to make a chocolate pine fruit. So we have worked a lot with these polycarbonate molds, but you can also use a silicone mold, okay? I'm not into using silicone molds for ganache, but when you're making a fat-based filling, which is then quite hard when it's cooled down, you can easily pop it out of this mold. But when you make a ganache, for example, you need to freeze it. I saw it, people freezing this, and then they pop it out and they cover it with chocolate, but I don't like the technique. You can do it at home, of course, but for a professional, I would not advise it because it will attract humidity, and it can be very dangerous then to create moisture on your ganache, which is not wanted. But this technique, you can for sure do it with a fat-based filling, like a praline filling, and even this contains as well also a little bit of Christoffel. So I worked a bit in advance, and here, what do I have? I have already the Christoffel inside, together with my chocolate as well. Everything is mixed. So basically, what I have done, I have just softened the Christoffel. I have added, of course, the chocolate, and also I just put in some praline, just to show you how it works. It's really, really easily. I put in some feuilletine. I put inside some rice puffs, like follow the recipe, and also a pinch of salt. Okay. You mix everything together with a spatula. And so it's the Christoffel milk I used for this one. And then this filling is also ready to use. It is around 28 degrees. Voila, you see, which is also perfect to apply in a mold like this. Voila, I will apply it as well in a piping bag. Are we okay time-wise, Joe?
Yep, we are indeed. It's 11:30 in the UK. So yeah, that's absolutely fine. I set to finish at midday, and that was to include some questions at the end, but people have been asking partway through. So are you all right timing wise for an extra half an hour?
No, I just wanted to check. It was time-wise to 12 o'clock in the UK, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, without a question, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, perfect. Okay, so I have my filling here ready now. Everything is mixed. Christoffel, tempered chocolate, some praline, the crunchy texture. And now I will pipe this filling into this silicone mold. It's like a small canal. They use it a lot in gastronomy, for example. They normally do a canal with a spoon, but this will also give you a shape of a pine fruit. When you pop it out, it's nice. Here with the texture, I will cut the tip a bit more wider. Voilà. I will not complete a full tray because I don't need it also now, and but normally I fill it completely. But I just fill it with what I have. It is to explain you how the process works. But this is a bit new, I would say, this technique by using a silicone mold, and especially this is very nice because yeah, it's the shape of a canal of a pine fruit, and the tip of the front, it is not really like touching the tray. It's a bit like 3D, I would say. It's really nice. So with a spatula, you make it flat. So you remove the excess of filling, and then this I put in a fridge of 4 degrees, so a normal cold fridge, until it is set. Okay. So it's quite easy to do. I don't put a ganache in a cold fridge to force, but the praline filling contains quite some fat, some oil. So the more fast this has been crystallized, the better it is. Okay. So this you can put in a fridge of 4-5 degrees, so very cold. And when it's set, you take it out. And then when it's set, of course, when it's crystallized, you can pop them out, and you will have then this result. Okay, so it's the canal. It's not enrobed, not at all. But then, of course, with an enrobing belt, when you are a chocolatier, you have this machine. You will then enrobe them with tempered milk chocolate, and then you will have this result. Okay, so you also see some line from the air circulation on the enrobing belt, and it reminds you of a pine fruit. So here, this recipe, you can use other inclusion to give another texture or another flavor. You can cover it with even milk, dark or white chocolates. So you will have an assortment of these small pine fruits, and I think it's quite easy to do, and it's quite nice. The shape is beautiful. Even for Halloween, you could make a small mouse out of it as well, to making here 2 small dots, and you also pipe in a small cornet, a small tail, and then you have a mouse in the shape of a chocolate in the shape of a mouse, for example. Okay. Then I have another recipe. It's the Christmas snow mountain, and here we do it a ganache with maple syrup, which is very famous in Canada, but also in UK. And when you use a maple syrup, please use a good one with a lot of wood flavor inside. Can even be like an aged that has been kept for a longer time, and it will have a much more taste as well. And the first layer in this chocolate is also like a green apple jelly, like we did with the lime. Is the same, but we put green apple together with some lime as well. In this recipe, there is also some lime, and this one is also coming out of the freezer, you see. So I do it all the time. I make always some extra, like I should do it when I have my own production. And then when I need it, I just take it out of the freezer like 1 day before. This chocolate, we call it Snow Mountain, because on the top you have some white snow, I would say, as a decoration. For this, I did not use any colored cocoa butter. Now in Europe, we cannot use titanium dioxide anymore. So we cannot do this with white colored cocoa butter. But what I have done, I have just put a small drop of white chocolate in my shell before molding. And then also with the air gun, I just sprayed it like I did with the one with the yellow. I just did the same technique, but then with white chocolate. Okay, so with a paper cornet.
Michelle, can I just very quickly interrupt? There was a question a moment ago that I missed, actually about 5 minutes ago, saying, where is the thermometer from? So that was whatever you were using about 6 or 7 minutes ago.
The one, this one? This thermometer?
I'm not sure which one it is, but if the lady who asked the question.
Yeah, this one is coming from IKEA. Yeah, they are very cheap, but they work well.
Wow.
Yeah, and yeah, I bought this because you find a lot of expensive equipment, and yeah, sometimes they don't work good as well. And this one, when it's then broken, it's not so bad because it don't cost too much money.
The
And the laser one.
Oh, that's it. That's the one.
Yeah, this one is coming from China. Yeah, the brand you see, it's MS. You see.
Oh yeah.
You might maybe look it up on the internet. MS thermometers. But yeah, I brought it from another country, so I don't know where it's where you can buy it here in Europe. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then I've got another question. Oh, there we go. Yeah, another question sent just a couple of minutes ago. Did you thin down the white chocolate with cocoa butter?
No, not at all. No. So the chocolate that we have, the white one, it is very liquid. Okay. But yeah, maybe it's a correct question, because here in my tempering machine, I have a 34% white chocolate, so it's quite liquid. So when you're using the Blanc Sélection, for example, it is 30% cocoa butter. So just add a little bit of cocoa butter to spray it, to pipe it with the paper cornet. So yes, please put a little bit cocoa butter, 5%, it's enough, but it will make the white chocolate a bit more liquid. So pipe it in the shell, and immediately you blow it out. You spray it out with with an air gun, just with air pressure. And then again, it will be like very, very thin here in the center and a bit more thick on the side, but it looks then like a mountain with some snow on top.
Yeah, brilliant. Excuse me.
So for my maple ganache here, I'm already also heating up cream and my maple syrup, but I just want to first put my my jelly. Yeah, but really, I advise you to make the jelly always in a larger amount. Keep them in small containers. It's yeah, that you don't have to prepare them all the time, because otherwise, yeah, making one bonbon, yeah, it's always a lot of work, yeah, of course. If you have to make everything from scratch.
Steve Calver's just mentioned that you can buy infrared temperature gauge from Vantage House in Henfield around about £27. So
Yeah.
thank you for that, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Yeah, you find a lot of this laser thermometer online. But the one I have, it works pretty good. But I also have to say it is not the correct temperature. When you really want to have the correct temperature, you really need to measure it with a sonde, with a stick. A laser thermometer always measure the temperature on the surface, on the outside. So it's just a guidance to tell me where I am a little bit with temperature. But don't pinch on that. For example, with tempering chocolate, it is not completely correct, a laser thermometer. So I pipe in here this delicious green apple lime jelly. Even if you would like to add some cinnamon, for example, like in UK, they like cinnamon as well. You can just add it as well in the recipe. With the apple jelly, flavor it with some cinnamon, and that's also pretty nice. So here I have my my sorbitol. So I pop in the sorbitol. I also pop in my sugar syrup, the glucose, and also the inverted sugar. So here I put also some inverted sugar in my pipeable ganache, because I also have some maple syrup in my cream, and that makes it also a bit more liquid. So I don't use only glucose in this one, but also some invert sugar. For the chocolate, I am using a Peru 64 chocolate. And I add also a little bit of cocoa butter.
So you feel the taste profile of the Peruvian here works really well in this product?
Yeah, so the Peru chocolate, it's a 64 chocolate, and it has the taste of acid cocoa. So it's a 64, but the taste is really like intense. But it also reminds you a little bit of dried fruit, like fermented fruit, also like figs, for example.
Yeah.
This will fit also very well then with the maple syrup, who has also a bit this profile.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then the fruity note combined with the green apple, it gives a little bit of refreshness.
Yeah.
It's a great combination as well.
It's really interesting how the different origins give different taste profiles that, you know, really complement certain flavors.
Yeah, that's true. We have, for example, also Uganda origin chocolates. It's really a more earthy mushroom chocolate. It's really dry. It's really nice. But at Belcolade, we don't have a large amount of origin chocolate, but we have enough. We have like 10 different. But we could make more. But sometimes you also find a bean from another country, and when we make it here in the laboratory, for example, when it has the similar taste as an origin that we already have, we don't launch it, because it doesn't make any sense to launch, for example, the Peru chocolates and one from Cameroon, for example. When it's the same taste profile, it doesn't make any sense to do it. So for us, all the origins need to have a different taste profile, and then we launch them, of course. Yeah. So it also happened that to say, this chocolate, I don't like it too much because maybe it's not my flavor. It can happen. For example, the one from Costa Rica, it's a bit smoky coffee note. But if you are loving tea, for example, to drink, and you don't like coffee, for example, it might happen that you don't like the Costa Rica chocolate. But we think it's quite normal. We don't mind that people say this, but we are then pretty sure that you really like the Peru chocolates, or even the one from Ecuador. It's just to explain a bit the origin chocolate with all the different taste profiles. And when you know the taste profile of an origin chocolate that we are offering, as a chef, you also think, okay, this fruity Peru, I can combine with the raspberry, with strawberry. The floral one from Ecuador, I can combine with agrum fruits, for example. So it's really also to help you how to combine this origin chocolate with a lot of flavors. So this is now also boiling, and I will put this also on top of the chocolate, the Peru chocolate 64.
Just as a matter of interest, Michel, what's your favourite single origin chocolate? I know it's all very personal. What's your favourite?
I don't say this too much because it's a chocolate where we don't have a lot of stock of. Because there are just not so much beans. And I like personally a lot the Vanuatu chocolate. It's a 44% milk chocolate, and it's really nutty. It's roasted. It's a bit smoked and spicy, and I like this very much. For the second one that I like a lot as well, it's the Vietnam 45. It's a bit in the same profile as the Vanuatu, but it's a bit more fruity.
Yeah.
And the Vietnam chocolate, we have a lot of beans available, so you can really order this without any problem. Yeah. For a dark chocolate, I like the Papua New Guinea, the 73%.
Oh yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, because it's not sweet. It has a lot of fruitiness.
Yeah.
I really like this chocolate a lot.
And at the moment,
yes,
In Belgium, I mean, when you're going around the beautiful chocolatiers that there are in Bruges or Brussels, would you say there's certain trends that you're noticing at the moment? Or are there certain things that for Christmas come out year after year after year and just work absolutely brilliantly?
But for trends, in festive moments, you have to know that everybody is around the table. So also the grandmother, but also the young daughter, for example, or the young. So a lot of people go back to the classic ones, like taste like passion fruit, raspberry, strawberry, and a lot of nutty flavor. Hey, hazelnut, it's always a bestseller.
Yeah.
So we see that for sure when you have like a family reunion, you need to make a lot of classic taste.
Yeah.
Because everybody needs to like it, of course.
But
when you're having more of a festive moment with friends of your own age, for example, who can be a bit of a gastronomic mind, you can start to experiment. But we see a lot of caramel is still a #1 flavor.
Yeah.
Nut also because it's considered as more healthy with some protein as well, and then also the fruity flavors, and especially the agrum flavors are really loved as well. So I finish this ganache and I will also mix it, and then I can also pipe it into my shell. Voila, my maple syrup ganache.
Lee just asked a great question. What is everyone's favourite finished product Michelle has demonstrated today so far? That'll be interesting to see what people say. Everyone always has very different views, don't they? It's a very personal thing.
For me, for example, I like the one with the mojito.
Yeah.
But I also prefer, I'm a classic one as well. The praline, like the pine fruit, I like a lot. And what is also a bit special about that recipe is because I use a little bit of Christophil in that praline filling, but it makes really the mouth feel much more softer. So I don't start with Christophil where I add praline, no, but I start with my praline filling where I add a bit of Christophil just to make the mouth feel nicely melting and a bit more softer. But I like then the mojito, and I like also the praline pine fruit.
Brilliant.
So I will fill up this shell as well. Voilà. So I will do this. I showed it already before, so you know how I do it. So in the meanwhile, when I'm doing this, I will also show you and explain something else. So I was talking about a bark that you were also going to show, and a bark, it's very easy to do, and it fills up also the shop with a long shelf life. It's no problem. It's also nice because you can just smash a piece out of it with a hammer in front of the customer, and you can sell it as such. So basically, it is a big chunk of chocolate, like 1 centimeter thick, that you decorate with a lot of inclusions: dry nut, dry fruit, some marshmallow, some pretzel cookies, some macaron, whatever you like. But I also made a variety for Christmas, and it's called the Christmas Turron bark. So Turron, it's a product in Spain that they only sell during Christmas periods. And it's again also a big chunk of a chocolate bar that they cut into pieces to share with their family and relatives when you are visiting their houses. So I will show you a video how we make this turonbark, and then we will see each other again. I have this mold then filled already, and then I will also show you a small Christmas sculpture. So I will share my screen now, and I will show a video.
Somebody's asked if the webinar will be available later online. Yes, it will be. It's being recorded, and we will get the recording to HB, and it will be, excuse me, it will be themselves that put it up on their. I believe it will be Stephen Russell. I wonder if you could say. I think it's going. Will it be on your page or on your YouTube channel? If you could just confirm where you'll put it.
Voila. Now I will be sharing this video.
Thank you.
You can see it, Joe?
I can, yep.
Yeah. For this turonbark, I will use also a transfer sheet for the decoration. And finally, the bottom will also be the top, so you can see this. What I will do, I will use some tempered Belcolade Selection 65 cacao trays with some praline to make it a bit more soft. We put one layer, I leave it to set. Then I will make a type of soft white chocolate, also with some praline. We will put a lot of nuts into it. And then again, we will top it off with the layer of the dark chocolate. We'll leave it to set. We will turn it around. I will remove this transfer sheet. And then you can cut it easily with a knife, because this turon is a bit more softer than a regular crystallized chocolate. So I remove this bark from its tray, and I leave it now to rest a little bit for 1 hour, just to have it at room temperature. And then we can cut it into smaller pieces if you want it. This turonbark is made with our Belcolade Selection 65 cacao trays, and in between we have a mix with roasted hazelnuts, praline, and also the Belcolade Selection Blanc. So this one is ready to sell. See you in the next part. Voila, the turonbark. So it was a big chunk filled with a lot of hazelnut, of course, and some praline, and as well some Christophil with some delicious chocolates. It's a thing that you can chop into pieces, or you just keep it like that and cut it in front of the customer. It's also possible. For the second thing I would like to show a video is also a Santa Claus sculpture. So what I use, of course, is all these components that I have to put together. And the components I made with some molds, of course, that I also developed myself. So this is a gelatin mold, and I use to make the feet for the Santa Claus I just yeah, from Potato Man, for example, a potato head. I use the feet and I make a gelatin mold out of it.
That's good.
I fill it up with dark chocolates. I can take him out. And then for his body, I also put a demi-sphere of 10 centimeter on top. And then later on, I will also have another demi-sphere on top where I put a hole inside, but it's also, if you like it, you can do it. And then you can fill up the hole with some praline, for example. I use a plastic cup to make his head, for example, his cap. This one also, it's made with a small mold that I made myself, a small stencil, but you will see this in the video. For his Christmas, how do you call it in English? The Christmas hat, yeah, his covering of the hat. How do you call it?
What, the little pom-pom at the end of a hat, we would call that
the hat as such, you have a special name for that? Santa Claus hat or yeah?
A Santa hat. We call it a Santa hat, but the little ball at the end of it, we would call the bobble or the pom-pom or something like that.
So the Santa hat is made out of a plastic cup that I molded with chocolates, and then a small pom-pom goes on top.
Yeah.
What I also have is some marshmallow. The recipe is also available, and the marshmallow it's decorated with coconut, and you can also put it around the body to decorate it even more.
Is that recipe within the sheets that was sent?
It's also there.
Oh, perfect.
When it's not there, I will send it for sure.
Okay.
So I will also show you a small video. It's a video for 1.5 minutes, and then you can see also this nice result. Just 1 second. I will start it up. Yes.
We've had some lovely feedback here. Someone said their favourite so far will probably be the amber chocolate with gold at the very beginning, but they're really looking forward to seeing the Santa sculpture, and a great webinar as usual, and thanking me and Henley Bridge and Michelle. So thank you so much. The lady
I will show this video quickly. It's a small video. You see it, Joe?
Indeed, it says chocolate sculptures at the front. Yeah. Oh, it's absolutely brilliant. I love that. I love the effectiveness of like the white fur kind of look along the coat and the bobble.
Yeah. That is with a stamping beard. I made it myself out of linoleum. It's a floor covering, but it's like a rubber thing. You see, so it's all the elements are quite easy to make. If you don't have this potato head feet, for example, you can also just use 2 half Easter egg to make the feet for the Santa. But for the rest, it's just a half ball, the Santa's head. The composition is quite easy to do. Well, I think I showed everything that I wanted to show today.
It's absolutely brilliant work as always. It's lovely. I'm looking forward to seeing them all cut.
I have
right.
here all the goods with me.
Somebody has come on. So about the Santa, they've put wow. So obviously they've absolutely loved it. How did you weld the little champagne bottle so neatly?
How did I make it?
How did you stick it, like to the sculpture so neatly?
Yeah. So when I have, for example, an element that I need to stick on a sculpture, I put some chocolate, of course, in a small piping bag. I pipe some liquid chocolate tempered on the sculpture, and then I glue the small bottle to it, and I put a little bit of cool spray just to set it immediately. Because otherwise, yeah, it will fall off because of the weight. So I always use a cool spray to stick it.
Okay, I'm not sure if HB stock anything like that. Maybe someone from HB could put something in the chat. Oh, hang on. So the lady who asked about the bottle, she meant the 2 halves of the bottle. So how did you stick the 2 halves of the bottle together?
Ah, yeah, okay, yes. So what do I do? I take a pan, okay. I heat it up, but just there is nothing inside. It's empty, so it's warm. Yeah. And then I basically just put 2 half bottles. I glue them. I melt a little bit, and I stick them together.
Yeah, I've seen you do that before. It works. Yeah. Yeah. Brilliant. Someone else has just come on. Some wonderful feedback. Fantastic presentation. So thought-provoking. Thank you. And the lady has given a thumbs up for the info on the champagne bottle with the Santa.
All right.
As ever, everyone's loving your work, Michelle.
Ah, thank you.
So
we have the Mojito Twinkle Star cut in 2 with the jelly. And then you also have the mint ganache below.
Can you hold that a tiny bit closer to the camera? I don't know whether that will go blurry, but I just, yeah, that's brilliant.
See, I will, because it's
brilliant. Yeah, if we could, that looks fantastic. Yeah, lovely.
You see how thin the closing as well, because it's a well balanced ganache. It makes them flat automatically. So yeah, it's good recipe.
That looks good. More lovely feedback coming in. Someone said they're off to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Fantastic webinar. I love these and I always learn so much. And then someone else has put, thank you for a brilliant lecture. Ooh, so many good tips that are so important to making excellent chocolates. Our customers will be in for a surprise. That's lovely. Yeah,
yeah, but it's true. All these small tips at the final, they help you a lot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Nice result.
And some of them are very simple tips that actually are so effective.
I always tell people when I'm making a demonstration, look, chocolate is not so difficult. If you have all these general rules to respect, temperature, tempering, timing, really it is most mistake happen when you don't respect temperature. You're working in a not adapted environment, too cold or too hot, and you don't respect the timing, you will not have a beautiful finished good. I will also not have it, but I respect all the timings, so I organize myself that I'm able to do it, to respect all that. And then half of the game is already won. It's allez.
Absolutely.
This is the one with the banana compote and the rum ganache.
Can you hold that a tiny bit? Oh, perfect. Oh, that looks lovely. Lovely, really nice. Lovely shine.
This is the one with the with the base with the balsamic vinegar and the caramel.
Oh, brilliant. A little bit closer again. Oh, perfect. There you go. That you can see it now. Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks lovely.
The one with the curry, you see.
The one with the curry, yeah. Oh, look, that's fantastic. Can you
Nice.
hold up? Yeah, there you go. Brilliant. So we can see. Yeah, it's so nice. Love that. Perfect.
Voila. This one was the pine fruit. Huh? You see the crunchy texture with the praline.
Yeah.
You see. Are there questions, Joe?
Hang on. Are there questions? No, there is. Steve Calver has just put. He's not sure how effective it is, but you can buy chocolate cool spray on Amazon for people if they were looking. There aren't any more questions at the moment. I've been doing them as you've been going along. But you know, if anyone does want to ask anything, or I mean, even if it's just a little tip on something maybe you're working on this afternoon, Michel is your man. He's very hard to get hold of. So if anyone's got any questions at all.
On mail it's sometimes difficult because you are always a lot of busy, but you can also find me back on Instagram, for example. I also read question there and also answer via that channel. When I need to reply with a technical data sheets, you can always add also your email address, and then I will also send the necessary information. So we are people.
How do people find you on Instagram, Michel?
It's with my normal name, like written here on the screen, Michel Eckerman.
Brilliant.
EYCKERMAN.